season's not over yet. We actually have a couple more days. Tomorrow we're going to go back to KM6. And if you're not on the bus at 9 a.m., you don't go. But we are definitely leaving at 9 tomorrow, and tomorrow we're going to go back. And you'll see a lot of changes. Those of us who were here in 2000 saw most of KM6 completely different. In fact, it looked like the only thing that I can think of is that if you ever saw the Planet of the Apes or the and I don't know, I'm not talking about the apes, I'm talking about the planet. If you ever saw the science fiction movie or with the Star Trek, yeah, where all the plants grow over the building, and it's sort of eerie, and all the buildings become just sort of mildewy, and that's what it was like in 2000, right? Well, yeah, it's like walking in, and it's, wow. It's like time stopped and stood still, and it was just left there to rot, except for maybe one street. This was a little bit changed, and I'm sure all of you have Google Earth to look down upon the KM6 compound, which was home to most of you. So it will be different. It could be an emotional day, and I hope you'll join us, and I do hope that there's some people that would probably be disturbed or feel that lost by this, but this is something that you came all this way to see, and there's some good in all of it. I'd just like to end the whole little thing by saying thank you, and what this reunion has meant to me, and putting it together was a true labor of love, and it still is, and like I said, I have helped it. Looked at the monument, and I found myself having a conversation with my dad. And it was a really cool moment for me, because I haven't had that since I left Laos, or since I last saw my dad, which was long before I left Laos. And I started having a little conversation in my head with him, and I have to tell you what this bracelet means to me. It's funny, my dad, the last thing he did when his son gave me a gold bracelet with my name on it, just like this. And things got tough for me a while back, and for me to be able to come to this trip, I had to sell that bracelet. And I'm just floored. So I really, things take a whirlwind, and you didn't know that I even had that bracelet, and for you to give me this bracelet, it has this really special meaning to me. So, and I made some new friends along the way, and that's kind of what these reunions do, so I hope somebody else will grab the reins and make another reunion and do it again, but I'm telling you, the next one to Laos, I'm also going to be involved with it, and I hope you will be too. And that's the end of the meeting for the dinner, and thank you all for being here. The hospitality suite's open. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for that. I forgot somebody. Frank Manley wanted to say a few words. Please. How could I do that? Frank, I'm really sorry I did that. I got a little self-absorbed at the moment, but I was feeling it with the rest of the reunion. Please come up, Frank, and have a few words. This man can tell a story that we all wanted to hear. If you haven't heard him say, he's been here since we all left.
Sabaidigo. Koipin Kon American Law. I wanted to ask you all to remember the reason why we're all here, your parents. And I would like to ask you to just take a moment of silence thereof. Then I would like to say that we have to recognize the accomplishments of your parents. The basic infrastructure of this country was developed by the members of the U.S. mission. The highways, the ferry ramps up and down the river, the airports, the schools. Then we had an interregnum, and now we are back again with the help of the ambassador. U.S. mission growing. taking on new challenges. One of the most significant to me is the ambassador signing the program of the World Food Program in the South, developing a gender system to get the young ladies into school by developing a school lunch program and packages of food back to the family so that they can let the girls come to school. The first phase of this was $11 million. We have other programs, manuscript, palm leaf manuscript restoration, $10,000. There's a whole range of programs that the mission is undertaking now. And I thought you should know a few of the details. You can see every year the Embassy Public Diplomacy Office gets 2 pages in the Vientiane Times, and all of the programs of the year are published there. You might want to look that up on the internet. Thank you very much.
So, for those of you who listened to the dates that I left, I can tell you precisely, almost to the minute, when I walked out onto the tarmac at Vientiane, it was May 23rd, 1975. And we've been given an hour and a half to pack a bag and leave. I have the dubious distinction, along with Becky McCluskey back there, of being members of the class of 75 who did not graduate from the American School of Vientiane because school was called a couple of days before that. So we actually left the country without finishing school and no diplomas. I think in both cases our colleges were quite understanding. And, pardon me? We were still in KM6 at that point, yeah? So Becky and I were on the same airplane, second plane of that evening, with our one suitcase and our one carry-on. And we spent that evening wondering if we were in fact going to get out of the country that evening, were we going to spend the night at Vientiane Airport. And I think I'm going to speak to you just briefly, Becky, but I think for both of us, we didn't have time to say goodbye. We came back to the States, and all the commotion was over Vietnam and Cambodia, and nobody even knew where Laos was. And that continued. I had the really good fortune about 10 years ago to speak at a dinner of Lao expats in Washington. And through a series of interesting events, I actually got to do an address. And I remember telling them, it was almost all Lao, that I never expected to get back to Laos, let alone speak to Lao expats. And that for me, just to be able to look at them and say, you know, this was the 25th anniversary of all the changes in Southeast Asia that year, and that Vietnam and Cambodia had been the featured story. And everybody just sort of forgot about Laos. And yet
Well, I am much too old to have been a student at the school. But I definitely was a part of it. With we arrived here on Anong's 12th birthday, and we were here until May of 75. I was president of the Women's Club here, and Frank Manley helped me ship children to college and all over the world, and always helped me get the best rates we could. And the last 3 years, I was the APO chief here, contracted to the embassy. And everybody sent out tons and tons and tons of packages those last few days. And we hope we got most of them out. But this was a wonderful time for me. Anon grew up here, and she has sort of a different approach than I do. But I love you all. I mean, I remember many of you sitting at the table, Tony Morehouse, Terry Rimley, Pat, what is your name? When they ask me, how are you doing? I say older and deafer. But anyway, this is a wonderful occasion for me, and I thank Lloyd and all of you that did it for us. So God bless, and I don't know if I'll be here 35 more years from now, but anyway, it'll always be in my heart, and we're glad to have Mr. Ambassador and his First Lady here. Thank you.
I've been listening to everybody, how long they've been here or lived here, and I was not here as long as a lot of you were. I came here when I was 15 years old. I was here my 10th grade year, then I came back for a couple summers after, since my mom and dad were still here. And I was the youngest of 4 girls. So when I left to go back to the States, I begged my parents to let me go back to the States to graduate in the States, because that's all I knew. And I'll never forget when I left, my mom and dad were holding hands, and I was the last one to leave. So they were empty nesters for the first time, which I am now an empty nester. So I'm reminiscing a lot of how they must have felt to let their baby girl leave, the last of 4 girls. And I guess being back here makes me realize a lot of things I didn't realize at 15. Actually, I left when I was 16, came back for the summer of 17, and when I was 18. And I was very fortunate to do that. But what I realized is the opportunity I had, and at the time I didn't realize how lucky I was. And Myra, my sister, was upstairs, and I know she's up here with me right now. In fact, I keep dragging her up here. But she left. She was only here 6 months. She was a senior when we moved here, so that was very challenging for her. So she also begged to go back to the States to graduate as a senior with her senior class. But she also said she wished she had stayed as well. But I think this trip right now, what it's done for me is made me realize how much my father, and God bless him, because he passed away 5 years ago. But what he sacrificed for us girls, for our family, and all the dads out there, you guys can all relate. We didn't realize it when we were kids. We were just going to school, minding our own business, having our own fun. We didn't realize the danger our dads were in or what danger we actually were in. And even our mother, God bless them as well. My mother passed away, actually my mom and dad passed away 20 days apart 5 years ago. But I think the mothers were mostly as sacrificing as our fathers, but we didn't really give them credit because they were there when the dads weren't there, and they were there to get us through the times of our dads being away. And my dad was a pilot for Royal Air Laos. He came over with the American crew. So I just felt like I needed to come back and find this chapter in my life that I don't think was finished. And I can tell you, standing up here tonight, I feel like it's finally finished. And there's like a closing end or end to the story. Because when I left, I don't think I felt that. I felt like there was unfinished business of some kind. And I'm treasuring all of you right now. It'll always be a place in my heart, in my soul. And thank you to Lloyd, because what really got me here was not only Lloyd, but I joined Facebook. My kids told me, you gotta join Facebook. So actually Facebook and Lloyd, and I called my sister and I said, we're going to Laos. If you go, I'll go. And she said, okay, we're going. So thank you to everybody for just sharing this story.
All right, fine. So I'm an only child, and when I came over, I didn't know that when I landed in Bangkok, Thailand, that the aircraft doors were going to open, not with a jetway, but where we had to, to disembark, pardon me, out of the front and out of the back with the air coming in the plane, and me at 10 years old looking up at my mother saying, oh, I can't possibly live here. I can't breathe. 10 years old. And I was an only child. And my father had to be here for 3 months before he could decide that he would take us, his family, who was non-existent, being with Air America. This was a risk. So, that was different, wasn't it? And this Miss Terry Remley over here, how old are we now? I haven't seen this woman since we were 15 years old. And she just sent me the most fabulous birthday card last September for my birthday. But she stood over me in Mrs. Bellamy's class, 5th grade, Miss Bellamy's class. She stood over me with Mary Mitchell, who I'm sorry to say is no longer with us. Mary Mitchell. Where are you from? So where are you from? What do you do? What are you all about? And these girls became my best friends. We were from all over America, here in Laos. And we became this very tight unit, this very tight, close family unit. What happened was, some of us, through the years, we would acquire, as we were growing up, we would acquire girlfriends and boyfriends with each other. What I would come to understand later on, then being transported back to the U.S., is that boyfriends and girlfriends were different, because if you broke up with each other when you were in Laos, you were still brother and sister. You still looked out after each other. But when you were in America, when you came back to the United States, it wasn't the same. You didn't really care about each other in that fashion that we, what is this now, 42 years later? We still care about each other in the same exact fashion. We love each other like we're still brothers and sisters. That is extremely emotional to me. Now, one other thing, because I'm an only child, I was married and I had my children, and I found a young man at the time, a lot of you will remember, Gullion. Yeah. Oh. Why isn't he here? I don't know. His formal name is, and he prefers to be called apparently, Guthrie Gullion. That's his formal proper name. I respect that. Okay. But we still know him lovingly in our hearts as Gully. That little boy chased me around with chinchuck tails to throw down my blouse, and I screamed bloody murder and would want to kick him in the shins. He wanted to go with me. And I said to my mother, I don't understand that. And he says, well, my mother says, but he likes you. He likes me. He's chasing me with chinchuck tails. I'm screaming at him. Okay, so beyond that, he's a happily married, very successful man now, and he's not here. I am sorry to say, and probably many of us here are sorry that he's not here. I met with him in the 80s, I think it was, because I live in Redding, California now. He lives just east of me in a town called Eureka. Humboldt University, Eureka, California. They recently had an earthquake right before Haiti. And I met with him there in the 80s, and I talked to him about some emotional things about living in Laos. And he said to me, I remember clearly, Susan, don't you realize that we all feel this way? And I said that I didn't. No, I didn't know that. You feel that way too? We all feel the same. Just that we love each other, we remember each other, and this is extraordinarily special to all of us. That's all I want to say.
I'd love to hear English accent.
I don't know if everybody feels the way I do, but I always feel that I'm whole in Laos. I never really, when I didn't want to go back to the United States when I left, I didn't want to be there, and I've always wanted to come back. So I should tell you, I really wasn't going to come to this reunion, but Debbie made me. So I'm glad she did. It was really nice to see everybody and connect. But again, it's always been that this is our home. You know, for those of us that have lived here, it's a part of our lives, and we're all interwoven, and I'll never forget it. It's just, you know, it's who we are. That's who's made us what we are today.
And somewhere along the way, you know, things would kind of get strange, and I'd start to realize it was a dream, and I'd wake up, and you know, I thought I was really the only person that felt that way, and so this is truly a dream come true for me. So it's great to get together with everyone else and share the feelings that everyone else has with the Lao people and the country. Unbelievable. You know, I saw my old house. I went down to Sarabana to our old house, and it's kind of overwhelmed with emotion. This has really been a special trip. Anyway, thanks everyone.
Michael, and then try not to cry. I was here in 62 and 74. And my second family were the Colemans. Mrs. Coleman was my mom, my second one. And Becca was my second sister. And Lloyd. And we all love Lloyd, and so much he's done for us. But in remembrance, Becky, Rebecca Coleman, started all of this way back, but no thoughts before internet. She worked so hard to find people, and she found us, and she did all of this, and I just want her to be remembered in spirit. We love her so much.